It's been a very long time since I did an episode, and well, life has been busy. I've been traveling around a little bit, and I don't want to make up any more excuses. Let's start off with the episode. So, the first thing that you will notice is that we have rebranded Enterprise Architecture Radio GCC transitions, and the reason why I have done this is last couple of episodes I was starting to think that we do talk about a lot of practical stuff. We talk about business, we talk about technology, we talk about how technology is used in business, what's happening in the industry, and so on. We talk about enterprise architecture, theoretical stuff like frameworks and such, but most of the times I try to stay as practical as possible. We also did an interview recently where we talked about the perspectives of CIOs and stuff. I came to realize that the topics I'm covering are very GCC focused and business focused. And I also have a couple of people that I want to interview who are going to provide a GCC focus. And ultimately, enterprise architecture, what is it? We don't need enterprise architecture if it's a small, simple organization. We need enterprise architecture only when it's a large, complex organization. And we need enterprise architecture when there is transformation. So and I've always talked about this. It's less about the title and more about the mindset. I've not been an enterprise architect for more than 11 years now. But the mindset of thinking at an enterprise level or systems thinking has always helped me in my career and in delivering transformational projects. So I thought that it made sense that instead of calling it Enterprise Architecture Radio, it's better I call it something else, something more relevant to business transformations. Now, the handles on YouTube are not easily available. Most of them are taken. So GCC transformations was available, so I took it. And I think it also makes sense. It's more relevant to the topic. Now, what are we going to talk about today? So since we are introducing GCC transformations to you, I thought it's a good idea to talk about the transformations that are happening in global capability centers across the world. And obviously, one of the most important transformations that's happening is artificial intelligence. Now, every single organization of any respectable size is thinking about artificial intelligence. And if they are not, then they better start thinking about it. Because it is not the future, it is the present. Artificial intelligence is here. Now, at this point in time, most of the artificial intelligence is being used for personal purposes, right? Claude is the new Google, right? Or whatever. People ask questions and they get relevant answers. Perplexity has been a very good choice for me for a very long time. And then I have recently started using Claude as well. ChatGPT is always a good friend. So I'm using all the three. I haven't started using the other ones, but three are enough, I think. So, but more and more organizations are now starting to think how to use artificial intelligence to improve efficiencies, to improve turnaround times, to improve effectiveness, and so on. And it raises some very interesting questions. Now, obviously, there are many that organizations need to be careful about. There are many cases that have come up where the organization ended up too many tokens and billions of dollars spent in AI and no outputs have come yet. So you have to be careful. Now, today, I want to present a framework of sorts that will talk about how an organization may implement artificial intelligence at the enterprise level in a controlled, governed, observed way. But before I get into the framework, I want to talk about some of the tools that are available that can make this easier. All right, the first thing that I want to talk about is AWS Bedrock AgentCore. AgentCore is a framework that essentially enables creation of AI agents safely, right? It's like the plumbing that's needed to do agent work. Now, if you want to create an agent, you'll have to take care of security. You'll have to take care of guardrails. You'll have to take care of network segmentation. You'll have to take care of identity and access management. You'll have to take care of, creation and of resources like EC2 instances, for example, as you need agents, because agents run within EC2 instances. You'll have to take care of observability and so on and so forth. There are so many things that you need to do, which is just plumbing. So your job is to create agents. Before you create agents, you have to do all of this. Now, what Bedrock AgentCore does is it provides all this plumbing. It do a ready-made environment with all the plumbing, like security guardrails, like identity and access management, like observability, and like caps on how many tokens you can use, etc., for you. So now once you have this Bedrock, you can focus on just creating the agent. You don't have to worry about all this. Now, I don't want to appear as if I am AWS biased, although I am a little bit, because most of my work is involved around AWS. But other cloud providers also have such services. Like Microsoft Azure has Foundry Agent Service on Azure, which essentially is if your rest of the ecosystem is completely around Microsoft. And GCP also has Vertex AI Agent Builder and the open source Agent Development Kit. Agent Development Kit is the most versatile because agents that are created in ADK can run on any cloud provider like GCP, AWS, Azure, etc. So essentially, all cloud providers provide these tools and capabilities for you to build agents. Now, organizations are now starting to look at leveraging these capabilities that cloud providers provide. Of course, you don't have to go with any cloud provider also. I mean, there could be a non-cloud solution like Databricks, for example, has Agent Bricks for data-heavy enterprises that are, and open frameworks like LangGraph and CrewAI that plug into any of these clouds that I talked about earlier. So there are tools available, and organizations are now looking at these tools to speed up their agent creation process. Now, I've talked about this because if you are an enterprise architect or a leader within an organization and you want to implement artificial intelligence at the enterprise level, you want to enable all the business functions within organizations to implement AI agents, but you don't want to give them free, or you want to make sure that you don't end up spending too much money, or you don't end up utilizing too many resources, and your ROIs are maintained, and there is proper governance and observability. How would you design your organization? How would you've got the tools, don't get me wrong, but you'll have to design an enterprise architecture that essentially takes care of all of these things. So let's get into that now. So now that I've basically given you the plumbing about this app, let's get into the actual architecture of the enterprise, right? So let's assume that you have an IT organization, and by IT organization, you have an infrastructure team, and then you've got multiple business functions, right? ITs supporting various business functions. You have manufacturing IT that essentially supports manufacturing, and you have finance IT that supports finance, and so on and so forth. You have marketing IT, you have legal IT, and so on, which essentially supports legal. Now, all of these organizations, they want to build their own agent, right? And the IT organization needs to enable them, right? Now, in a conversation with one of my leaders a couple of years ago, and this is before the advent of AI, okay, a couple of years ago, we were talking about what an ideal infrastructure team should be. And, I'm not going to take his name, but he gave the idea that an infrastructure team is essentially a product development team. So, it's an extremely technical software product development team. And at that time, he was talking about infrastructure as a code and delivering infrastructure as a product. Now, let me help you. Let me explain that a little bit. Usually, an infrastructure team, what does it have? He's infrastructure teams have engineering and infrastructure teams have operations. Now, what do engineering teams do? They usually deliver services. So somebody needs an EC2, you give them an EC2. Somebody needs a particular set of services, you give them a particular set of services. These are engineering. And engineering does a lot of research on what's happening in the industry today, and they try to create qualified services with the organization. And when I say qualified services, it means that let's say there is a new service launched by AWS. Right? You can't straight away, an organization cannot straight away start using it. So, you have to test the service out. You have to do some amount of penetration testing. You have to understand what that service is really good for. And then you have to do certain amount of documentation around how that service can be used safely. You have to have security guardrails. You have to create integration with various other services. All this work is done by the engineering team, right? And then you have operations team that essentially does operational stuff. Like somebody requests a service, the operations team basically delivers that service or provisions that service. And this is not just in case of cloud. It also happens on-prem, right? Engineering team does a ton of study and research and analysis around latest storage services, for example, or archival services, for example, or what's the best archival solution, live archival solution, what's the best encryption solution for security, and so on and so forth. An operations team, what do? Whatever services are already qualified, whatever is the organizational standard, they just deliver that standard. Now, this is a standard infrastructure team, but I want to challenge that initial premise itself, right? We really need these really large operational and engineering teams that do all this stuff, right? Sure, there should be an engineering team. It should be a very lean engineering team. And they shouldn't just do research and just document stuff. They should build products. That's the idea. And this is the idea that was given to me by this leader that I was talking to a couple of years ago. They build products. Now, what does a product really mean? A product means understand what the organization needs. What are the standard products that go? And when I say a product, it means a set of infrastructure services that are usually put together, right? Somebody will not just ask for an EC2 instance. Along with the EC2 instance, they might ask for a database service, for example, or they might ask for identity and access management roles set up. They might ask for some VPC configurations, some security guardrails. All of these go together, right? But what do operations team usually do? They individual requests are raised and they deliver these individual requests. So this started in one of my programs as a way of improving turnaround of provisioning, where we build design patterns. And my point is that we can club all of these services together, which are asked for more frequently, like a design pattern, and make them available over a catalog. So basically the business functions like finance IT, legal IT, marketing IT, etc., they can just look at the catalog and say, okay, this is what I need, right? And just request it and they get a product. So a product essentially is a group of infrastructure services, individual, clubbed together, right? And with the advent of AI, this is exactly what we can do. We can build products which are basically all the services. Now, AgentCore already does quite a lot of this, right? AgentCore, what does it do? Whenever an agent needs to be run, AgentCore creates a spot instance of the EC2. It enables the agent to run. As long as the agent is running, the EC2 instance is available. And then as the utilization goes down, the spot instance is basically, and there is horizontal scaling and everything enabled, right? So some amount of plumbing is taken care of by the AgentCore, but that's not enough, right? The AgentCore will also run within an AWS account, which will require security guardrails, token caps, identity and access management rules. So essentially who does what, how, etc., and so on and so forth. So, and it's not necessary that it needs to be only for AWS. It could also be for Azure. It could be for on-premise HPC hardware. It could be like a Linux compute with, again, security guardrails, identity and access management, and caps over such GPU utilization is allowed, etc., etc., and obviously some customization. So essentially what now happens is your agents, the responsibility of creating agents lies with the business units. You don't want to mess with them. They create their agents for whatever it is that they want to do. But when they need an environment where they need to run those agents, they can pick and choose a product instead of providing detailed requirements of exactly what they require in the environment, because they don't care, and that's why they don't need. Usually they don't study this, right? It's an infrastructure domain, and the infrastructure team needs to provide that. What I'm trying to get at, long story short, to summarize, is enterprise architects, GCC leaders are now enterprise architects. They need to think about everything. Doesn't matter which organization you are in, what kind of organization you are in. You need to start thinking, if you have an enterprise architecture mindset where you are thinking from not just one single siloed perspective, but from an enterprise standpoint, it helps, right? It gives you a wider view. And enterprise architecture is not just theory and frameworks and TOGAF and Zachman and such. It is thinking about how you can transform the organization. It's thinking about how you can make the life of the business easier, how you can use technology on a wider scale and enable the business at a larger scale. So that's why GCC transformations at scale. I hope, this might be a little bit theoretical and long, and I'll try to make it as interactive as possible in future. But if you've enjoyed the episode, then do let me know. Do let me know if you think it was a little bit too technical. Do let me know if there are aspects of this episode that you did not understand. And GCC Transformation at Scale is not just a podcast, it's more a collaboration platform. And I'm trying to get together a group of people who are passionate about transformations, who think about transformations, who think about organizational change, who think about making an impact. I want to get them all together so that, we can help each other out. And while I'm doing all the podcasts so far, I want to hear from you as well. So there is a Telegram group, there's a LinkedIn group, there's a WhatsApp group community as well. And join us and talk to us, and together we can probably learn from each other and guide each other. But most importantly, have a ton of fun.